when our distinguished guest gets here, we will stop them and have him speak to us. So, do we have a quorum?
We need 7, and I see 7. So I think we're good.
Okay, and we have the individuals in here as well as online. We've got Mayor Mitch LeKind and Mayor Sharon Thompson, our voting members I can see online. So then we have the agenda. I would take a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Mayor Dixon also moved.
Okay,
Second,
we have a motion and
Amy Mitchell.
thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. And all in favor say, does anyone have any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are just right on time. We're great. So today during our public comments and presentations, we're going to have as our first speaker, our Honorable Congressman Jeff Crank representing the 5th District. And after that, I understand we do have one public comment. So we'll let the Congressman either come up here next to me or we'll let him speak at the big mic. So give us just a minute. And we really appreciate him taking the time to come over here. This is quite an honor. So. Sit either next to me or you can stand at the nice mic. Okay. Good to see you. And then you just.
That's a grand entrance if I've ever seen one. That was crazy. That's great.
Should we do introductions?
I'm Commissioner Holly Williams. I'm the chair of PPACG, and we're going to go around this way.
Good morning, Brandy Williams, City of Colorado Springs City Council.
Good morning, William Much. My firm's Much Government Relations. I do federal lobbying for PPACG. Good to be here.
Andy Gunning, Executive Director with PPACG.
And George Jones, Mayor of Woodland Park.
Dennis Stern, former Lake Mayor. Todd Dixon, Mayor of Green Mountain Falls.
Natalie Johnson, Mayor of Manitou Springs.
Amy Mitchell, Park County Commissioner.
Bill Weissong, County Commissioner, District 3. Jeff Moser, Special Projects Director for the City of Cripple Creek.
Corey Applegate, County Commissioner for District 4 for El Paso County.
Jeff Pine, Community Partnership Manager, representing the leadership of Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain.
Cheryl Richards, Office Manager for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government.
Jared Verner, Public Policy and Communications Manager at the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments.
Eric Stone, Teller County Commissioner and Vice Chair of PPACG.
Okay, and I will state again, we have online Mayor Sharon Thompson of Fountain, City Councilman Sean Verhoff of Fountain, Mayor Mitch LeKind of Monument, and City Councilwoman Laura Kroenig of Monument, plus a few of our Fort Carson representatives online as well.
Great. Well, thank you. It's great to be with you. And, you know, I have, when I was at the Chamber of Commerce here many years ago, of course, I worked with PPACG. And I have to, before I get started, I have to tell you my Area Council of Government story very quickly. When I first started working for Congressman Joel Heffley, probably 30 years ago, I didn't do transportation issues. And so I wasn't at that time familiar with councils of government and things like that. And I had our staff person kept coming to me and telling me how Dr. Cog would be opposed to us doing this or that. And I kind of get a little frustrated with it. And then he'd come back and tell me again, well, Dr. Cog doesn't want to do this. And finally, I said to him, I said, who is this Dr. Cog? I want to talk to him. And then I realized it was the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So anyway, listen, it's an honor to be here with you. Thanks for all that you do. Obviously, you're the you're all the area of government that reacts to the constituents in the most efficient and quick way. It's certainly not the federal government. And so I'm a big advocate of pushing as much down to you as we can so that you're making those decisions. And I will tell you, as we look at funding requests in my office, we're looking to you to tell us what those requests should be as we're pursuing projects and things like that. I know we've worked with many of you individually as entities, El Paso County and others, to get projects funded here. And I want to be your partner, but I want you to lead on telling us, because you know better which projects we're going to invest smartly. I shouldn't be the one making that decision. It should be you, and that should rise to us, and we would help in any way we can. I want to take just a couple of minutes and talk about a couple of the great things going on in the region from a military standpoint. I know that you all have followed, just like I have, of course, the whole issue of Space Command and whether Space Command would move from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama. You know, as a delegation, Republican and Democrat, we all fought and we all unanimously signed letters, fought to try and keep Space Command here. I, to this day, think it's the wrong decision to move Space Command from Colorado. I think it doesn't make sense. But that's the decision that's been made after a basing study, after a legally executed basing study that was done during the first Trump administration, then the Biden administration. And so, you know, that decision has been made, and we can continue to say that it's the wrong decision, but we also have to realize, let's go get some things for it. And so, so that's what I set out to do, was to try and make sure and see the opportunity that's out there for the Space Force. The current Department of Defense budget is going to double the size of the U.S. Space Force. And right now, 50% of U.S. Space Force around the nation, 50% of that Space Force is right here in El Paso County. Many of you know we run the GPS satellites out of Schriever. We have, of course, Schriever, Peterson, and Cheyenne Mountain installations here. That number, the number of Space Force personnel, is going to grow over time as we're investing more in space. And so, you know, three things that we did get, and I did have the Secretary of the Air Force came out, made an announcement here about some of the investments that they're making in our community. And I'll just talk about those briefly here. A $250 million space operations center out at Schriever Space Force Base. And let me back up just a minute. If we lose Space Command, which is of course different from Space Force, and a lot of people get confused by that, but if we lose Space Command, it's about 600 civilian jobs and about 400 military billets. So it'd be about 1,000 total, because it's just the headquarters. We were able to confirm that all of the operational aspects pretty much of Space Command will stay here. They can't move many of those things. So that would be a loss of about 1,000 jobs over the next couple of years. However, this space operations facility alone coming into El Paso County will be about 250 or 2,500, I'm sorry, 2,500 civilian jobs. And then it will support a total of about 5,700 jobs at that facility out at Schriever. So, you know, the remaining would be military billets. So, you know, that's a big win for our community to have that here. There'll be 4 sites around the country. This will be one of those 4 sites at Schriever. And that will be done over the next couple of years. It's the $250 million is right now in the National Defense Authorization Act. We got it put in there, and we're working to keep it in there, and it will stay in there. Nobody's trying to pull it out. The second thing is a program account executive for Space Force infrastructure. For many years, we've talked about the Space Systems Command, which is located in Los Angeles. The Air Force would love to see that not in Los Angeles, and there's actually a lot of developers and others in Los Angeles that probably would like to see it gone too, because they can use that real estate probably more efficiently for them. And so we can't move Space Systems Command to Colorado Springs in whole without a basing study, but we can try and get parts of it here, and that's what we've done with this. This is the acquisition arm for Space Force that deals with infrastructure, test ranges, any of those kinds of things, and that is moving to Colorado Springs. In fact, it's largely here now. That's about 500 individuals. It's a $4 billion worth of budget authority for the Air Force. That number will grow to about $10 billion of budget authority. And so if you think about that, the decision maker for ranges and infrastructure in the Space Force is going to be headquartered here. That's going to draw companies here who want to do business with them because the customer will want to be next to the client. And so we're going to see, I think, growth in that area as well, but an additional 500 jobs. And then finally, we put some language in the National Defense Authorization Act that secures the increase of second lieutenants coming into Colorado Springs. Right now, as a second lieutenant comes into the Space Force, their first 1-year assignment is at Peterson Space Force Base. Right now, there's about 600 of those second lieutenants every year who are stationed here. Next year, that number is going to grow to 1,800. So it's a 300% really increase in second lieutenants. So we have to plan for that. I mean, if you add all of that up, that's a lot of growth in our community because of Space Force, and it's the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even touched on what Golden Dome could mean for our community, and the investment that will be made there. Golden Dome, we put $25 billion into the reconciliation bill for Golden Dome funding. Predominantly, there's 3 communities, in my view, that will benefit from Golden Dome funding, and that's Huntsville, Alabama, Miami, Florida, and Colorado Springs. So a lot of effort. I think that will draw a lot of business that wants to do business on Golden Dome to Colorado Springs and to our testing facilities here. So overall, a good news. I think there's growth, great growth opportunities with the Space Force. Second thing I wanted to talk about just quickly is really talking about the Clean Air Act reform, some of the stuff we've done. Gabe Evans, I was with Gabe Evans last night, Congressman Gabe Evans from the 8th District. He sponsored the Fire Act, which I think you all are pretty familiar with. We passed it in the House. I'm a co-sponsor of that bill. And it would make updates to the Clean Air Act that ensure states and manufacturers are not penalized for wildfire smoke and emissions. And that's a big deal in the West. And obviously it's not as big of a deal in the East, although we've seen what can happen when Canada catches fire, and many of our northeastern states get blanketed in that smoke. But we shouldn't be penalized for that. And the bill also allows us to do prescribed burns to be carried out safely, limiting the risk, of course, of wildfires. I would also add a piece of that. We have something called the Fix Our Forest Act, which is a bipartisan piece of legislation that we passed in the House. We're waiting on the Senate to act, and you'll find a common theme that we're waiting on the Senate to act. You're going to hear me say that a lot. We passed a lot of stuff out of the House, and it goes over to the Senate. We're waiting. The Fire Act is one of those. We're waiting for the Senate to pass the Fire Act. And again, these are bipartisan pieces of legislation in many cases that we just can't seem to get through. So the hope is that we could do that and get them to act and give us some relief under that Fire Act. So with that, I'm happy to stop and turn it back over to you. And I know you all have some things to share with me too. So.
Madam Chair, and I'm happy to sort of kick it off. We have 3 main priorities, and you've touched on them already, primarily with air quality considerations. We've got our 3 main federal priorities up on the screen right now, but thank you so much for taking the time. You've been incredibly generous with your time, whether it's here or back in Washington, back there visiting, and just really appreciate all your support. So this is a great opportunity. we'll start with air quality. You touched on that already. Just thank you for your support of the Fire Act. That's a great start. One thing that may be in front of you as well is that we're continuing to work on our air quality ozone challenges, and we're actually co-sponsoring with our friends up in Representative Evans's region, an air quality exchange, we're calling it, up in Loveland in October. There's a lot more work that's got to be done. This is a great start with the Fire Act, but we're still getting penalized because of background emissions and just other emissions that are out of our control. It's about 75% overall of the emissions that comes into our region that we don't generate as man-made emissions. So we need some relief. The Clean Air Act has been in place since the 70s, I believe, last substantially amended in 1990. So we just need some common sense reforms. And the Fire Act is a great step in the right direction. We're hoping with the forum that we pull together in October with our friends up north and actually across the Intermountain West, that we can keep the dialogue going and really identify what are some other common sense fixes that we can see in the Clean Air Act. It's a big deal. We are not, and as you know, not in non-attainment yet for ozone, but we're right on the edge. It's been a really tough summer with all the wildfire smoke that we have no control over. Our concern is at some point down the road, when EPA does do a determination as to who's meeting it, who's not meeting the standard, that we're going to get swept up into non-attainment. And that's a 20 to 30 year sentence, roughly, with a lot of economic impacts for reasons that are largely not under our control. So that's a really big deal. So thank you so much for your sponsorship of the Fire Act. That's a really great start, and we just want to keep the conversation going there. Jumping up to the first bullet, federal transportation reauthorization is also due. The current bill expires September 30th, and we've been working again with our partners across the Intermountain West to really identify things we'd love to see in the new legislation. There's a bill that passed the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, hasn't gone to the full House yet, but passed with overwhelming support. I think it was 62-2 in the House T&I Committee. Our board has not taken a formal position yet, but I think we will in about a half an hour or so. That's one of our items on our legislative discussion for today's meeting, and I'm sure we're going to take a support position. We love the features of that bill. It really gets back to basics. It focuses on core formula funds, which we like a lot, instead of having to compete for discretionary grants that take a lot of time and just a lot of effort. So very supportive of the transportation bill. The one thing that's not in there yet, and we've talked about this before, is that Colorado is not getting its fair share as far as revenue generation. There's an antiquated measure that's part of the federal transportation bill that ties our population for everybody back to the year 2000. It's super complicated, but there's a renewed effort by all of our partners in the Intermountain West in Arizona, Utah, Nevada to finally try to fix that in this bill that's going forward. Try to do it in a way that's going to hold harmless other states like New York and Michigan, Pennsylvania that are losing population, to hold them harmless, but let's plus up the faster growing states and regions that really need the transportation investment. So appreciate your support with that. We've estimated, actually working with CDOT, they've estimated that we're losing out about $200 million a year. So it's $1 billion over a 5-year transportation bill. So we're talking real money, but there's a lot of support. Your counterparts in Arizona, Utah, Nevada, Idaho are pretty well dialed in with this as well. We're trying to see if we can finally make a difference there with the renewed transportation bill. And the third item, just briefly, reauthorization of the Older Americans Act is also out there. The most recent bill expired in the end of 2024. We run the Area Agency on Aging here through PPACG. We partner with a lot of different service providers across the region: Silver Key, Teller County Senior Coalition, Park County Senior Coalition, whole host of others to really help seniors to be able to age in place gracefully and safely. So it's really a lifeline for our senior population out there. So I know it passed the Senate with unanimous consent. So it's now over in the House, not sure scheduling wise when and if it's going to come up between now and the end of the year, but that's another topic that's really near and dear to our hearts and one of our 3 main federal priorities. So, yeah.
Can I comment back on those? So first of all, on the Older Americans Act, I'm very supportive of it. I hope that the House will weigh in on that. We'll pass that. We're running out of days, legislative days, for sure. But I do hope that we can do that. And on the Surface Transportation Act, it's been very frustrating. It did get did you say 62-2, I think was the vote out of committee. So very bipartisan bill. Congressman Jeff Hurd is actually on the Transportation Committee. Jeff and I work well together. Our hope is that we can get that bill to the floor. I will say, again, getting it through the House and then getting it over to the Senate, getting it passed in the Senate, a big bill like that is tough. And for whatever reason, I know this doesn't shock anyone, but Congress isn't that great at doing their work. But as you get closer to an election, they get even less efficient for some reason, which is disappointing, of course. But what we may end up having to do, the Senate continuing resolution that just passed, we're still trying to make sure that we don't have a government shutdown. And the House passed a continuing resolution to prevent that, which is a clean CR. It would continue government funding through the election till like about December, if it's December 8th or 15th or something. And we passed that, sent it over to the Senate. The Senate added a few things. One of the things they added into their CR was extending the current authorization for surface transportation, which that may be where we end up, which obviously would be better than nothing, but we'd love to get the transportation bill through. And so on both of those things, I'm hopeful that we can at least get a vote in the House, get it over to the Senate. Well, actually, the Older Americans Act, they sent to us. So hopefully we can get both of those things done, get some floor time and get them done.
All right,
Sure.
if we have time for
All the time.
questions, does anyone have any questions? Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Mitchell.
Congressman, good to see you. I'm in a different county, but it's great
Yes.
to see your face. I'm not going to do a long diatribe, but I'm just saying Park County is suffering a huge challenge with the BLM on trying to close our landfill that has been closed since the mid-90s. But it's never really closed. I did give Dennis Heisey a one pager, well, a two-sided one sheet that tells our challenge. Just respectfully ask if you know anyone at Interior or at EPA that we can make a connect. We feel like we are the mouse in the gorilla's hand and they're getting ready to squeeze us, and it would pass on a huge deficit to Park County. Could be up to $20 million, where we can solve the whole problem for 6 and have the money ready to go into an escrow by the end of September to do the work locally instead of through the federal government, which compounds the cost. And we do it with local business and local jobs. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your work very much.
Sure. And I am happy to look at that. I know you said you sent it to Dennis. We'll take a look. Remind me, Park County is Brittany Pedersen?
Yes,
You
Brittany
remember
Patterson.
Pedersen?
I will reach out to her office too. I do have a relationship with her. It's just that I believe we're a little more like-minded.
Okay, well, great.
If
And
that's a fair
would
statement.
I'll be happy to work with Brittany however I can. And I'm actually on the committee that has jurisdiction over BLM, where I'm on the House Resources Committee. Brittany's not on that committee. So if we can help, we'll do that. I wouldn't want to do it, without talking to Brittany, of course, and letting her know. But I'll certainly offer my full help and support to try and find a resolution, Amy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be having a conversation with her office after this meeting because it just really hit the fan yesterday. So thank you.
Commissioner Applegate.
Thank you, Congressman, for coming down, and I appreciate your support on the Clean Air Act. That's just something that I've been working with and all my fellow commissioners as well. PPACG, NACO, we've been trying to get something like that, where like the wildfires from out of state wouldn't affect the state's lines with like the smog and the clean air and everything. You said that's headed to the Senate soon, and then what do we need to do, like us as electeds? Do we need to like start calling Bennett and Hickenlooper and try to get them to urge them to pass, or you think it's going to go through?
No, I don't predict Senate. I don't. I'm not a betting man to begin with.
Okay.
I do think it's important that if that's your view, is that obviously you're supportive of that bill. And there's another bill, the Fences Act, which would stop us from counting foreign emissions being included in that. I mean, Colorado is in a really tough spot because I think worse than any other state in a lot of ways, because you have these issues. The wildfire is a big issue here, of course. Fences affects every state, but then in addition, our altitude, that we're the highest state in America, right?
Yeah.
In a couple of ways.
Uh,
But in altitude, we're the highest state in America. And, that has a great impact. It's not taken into account, right, in the calculation. So that all needs to be recalculated so that we can get some relief on that. So yeah, I would encourage you, if you can do a resolution or whatever, to encourage them to pass both if you support the Fences Act as well, but both of those pieces of legislation.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and while I would say also, I don't know if you even weigh in on this, but this Fix Our Forest Act would prioritize. Let me just briefly talk about that. And we passed it in the House. It's over in the Senate. It would prioritize for the first time urban interface areas in the forest and say, because right now we say, gee, we need to fix our forests. I think the number I remember in the 1880s, the tree load per acre in Pike National Forest was maybe 50 or 60 trees per acre, and it's now 150 or 160 trees per acre. We had healthy forests in 1880. I don't think anybody could argue that our forests weren't healthy in 1880, probably healthier than they are today. But we have not prioritized going in and getting some of that fuel load out. This bill would prioritize urban interface areas around Colorado Springs and some of our other areas, and make those the things we focus on so that we save property and things like that. So that's languishing in the Senate too. So anything you can do to help on that would be great.
Cool. Thank you for your work, Congressman. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Weisman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Congressman Crank, thank you for attending. And you kind of took my question on the, the forest, fix our forests. The other part of that is we've got the major beetle kill, pine beetle that is, got a toehold again in the Front Range. It all kind of adds up, and it's probably, I don't know if you've got the numbers, but it's probably cheaper to mitigate than it is to fight the forest fires, especially the after effect, like what we're seeing down in Aspen Acres around Beulah and stuff, because it's just that ripple effect to our rivers and creeks and everything else. The next piece is any more updates on the SOIQ study for Schriever, and you could just add a little bit more to that. I'd appreciate it. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
Sure. Not really much to update on. I know that the plan is on the SOIQ study, which is an encroachment study around our Space Force bases, particularly here in El Paso County. The idea is to have the one for Schriever done a little before the Peterson and Cheyenne Mountain ones. I'm hearing September is kind of the time frame they're still shooting for the Schriever report. I met with General Gagnon the other day. We talked a little bit about it. I think they're still on schedule for that. And then the other installation, Cheyenne Mountain and Peterson, probably more towards the end of the year of this year. So that's still, and our hope is we want those installations to tell us, what it is that they want compatible out there. I mean, we are going to have, as I mentioned, we're going to have 5,700 people working out at Schriever. We got to find places to put them. They'll need places to live. But we also have to protect the missions of those installations and well into the future. So, and I know you've spent a lot of time on that, and thank you for that.
Okay, we have Rama City Councilman Shaw online. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak here. I'm a born and raised Colorado native. Been here all 53 years of my life. Whenever I was a young kid, my dad had a firewood business, and I basically grew up with a chainsaw in my hand. So I had firsthand experience growing up on fire mitigation. The Division of Wildlife would sell permits to go and work in the high danger areas where the forest is growing too thick or being overrun with beetle kill. And in the 80s, a lot of that started to diminish and there was a lot of pushback from people that claim to love trees and want to preserve the trees, but what I see is a lot of lack of knowledge to the general public as far as how what's healthy for the trees. If the trees grow too dense, they're not going to grow and be healthy, and then it becomes a greater fire risk. And I've been watching the budget cuts from the Division of Wildlife, a lot of cutbacks on labor in the Division of Wildlife, and they've had a real tough time dealing with Congress and Senate for proper funding to get out there and do their jobs properly. And over the last 5 years, there's been claims of things improving, but over the last 5 years, it really breaks my heart because I've been sitting here watching Colorado burn the whole time. I mean, from one forest to another. And a lot of it is the fire mitigation got lost in translation. And people don't know there's a lot of residents up there that's, oh, I want to protect my trees. Well, you protect the trees by keeping it thinned out. And there's a lot of lack of knowledge. If somebody's going to live in a higher altitude and live in a forest area, they need to have that understanding. And a lot of people don't. Is there anything that you can propose to help expand the knowledge to people in the higher altitude that thinner is healthier? Is there anything that we can do to try and rewind the clock to get back to where it was 40 years ago? Because it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, I agree. Obviously we have to understand that trees are a renewable resource. And again, I used the analogy, and I think I'm right on the numbers. It's pretty close to that. But the tree load today in Pike National Forest is nearly double what it was in 1880. And again, I don't think anybody would argue that we didn't have a healthy forest in 1880. We had a very healthy forest. We have many more trees than we did back then. And we also, as we're talking about the water issue, all those trees drink water. And so, if you have twice the density of trees in your forest, they're going to be drinking, twice as much water. So this is a big issue. It is part of what the Fix Our Forest Act would do, is to really focus on the science of forest management and getting back to that. And, the federal government, a lot of this, and we've seen it in fires here. I almost lost my house in the Black Forest fire. And I know many people have almost lost their houses or have lost houses here. It's self-imposed in a lot of ways because we don't manage our forests, our federal forests, in a way that we should. So we need to get back to that. I don't know that I have specific examples other than what's already in that Fix Our Forest Act, but I totally agree with you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Stern, Palmer Lake Mayor, and thanks for your time. One of the issues du jour right now are data centers. And I'm just curious what might be bubbling up in our federal Congress in regards to that. Anything?
Yeah, so the questions on data centers, I hope that you all will appreciate me for this, but I have always tried to stay from a specific data center point or approval of a certain, development or any of that kind of stuff. To me, I don't think it's fair to you for me to stick my nose in those individual cases. So I've always kind of stayed away from those. Because the last thing you want is your congressman deciding that a data center should go in this neighborhood or not go in that neighborhood. But overall, look, data centers are here. They're going to happen. We are in a race, and I sit on the House Armed Services Committee. We are in a race with China right now for supremacy of space, supremacy of cyber, and supremacy of data. We are in a race, and they are investing a lot of money into that. And when I first got to Congress, I had no gray hair, and now I have plenty because I sit in meetings and I watched the classified briefings to see what China is doing right now, and it is frightening. to see what they are trying to do. I want America to lead in data centers. I want the country that is has a constitution and has a Bill of Rights and protects freedom of religion and speech and all the protections that we have. I want us to control that data rather than China controlling it. But how we do that is super important, right? And we have to do it collaboratively with local governments so that data centers are not put in places where they will do damage and harm to neighborhoods and things like that. So you all have tough decisions to make, in a lot of ways, much tougher than I have to make on data centers about where they should go and what they should do. I will say, if El Paso County is going to fulfill what it needs to do on Golden Dome and on some of the space-based assets, if we're going to keep our future ahead of us on those kinds of things, we're going to have the ability to have those. Now, whether they go on a military installation or outside or out in the middle of a field somewhere that's 100 miles from here, those are decisions you all have to make. But I think it's super important that we not lose sight of the importance of others who will control our data if America doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. Then we'll wrap up, I guess. I am curious about the Air Force Academy Chapel. What is the status on that? I don't know if you sit on the board of
I do.
Directors there or visitors, or we're just curious if it's going to be done in the next 5 years.
That chapel has been just the worst project ever. Honestly, they should have tore it down to the foundation and rebuilt it, and it would have been cheaper to do that. But we're past that point now. I do sit on the U.S. Air Force Academy Board of Visitors. We just had a meeting a couple weeks ago and got an update from the engineers out at the Air Force Academy. The date that they are shooting for, that they will turn the chapel over to the Air Force Academy and say, here you go, it's open again, is June of 2028. So we're still a couple of years away. Finally get the box taken off. The box actually will come off before then. So you'll see the chapel, maybe it'll be a year or 15 months or so, and then that box will come off and they'll still do things. But, we need to get that project. It's so iconic to our community as people drive down the interstate to see that. I don't know how many of you have been to the new Air Force Academy Visitor Center, but if you haven't, it's spectacular. It's been a great project. It was one of the City of Champions projects here in Colorado Springs, and it's going to bring a lot of visitors to the Air Force Academy. One of the things I'm working on is access to the Academy, because I think they've been hyper crazy about not letting visitors on to the Academy, and we need to do a better job of that. But it's tough to get on. I get stopped about every time I go out there, and yeah, it's we need to really focus on that. But there is a lot of focus now. I think it's probably one of the most managed projects now in the Air Force, but it should have been that way for the last 5 years too. So hopefully we'll get it done.
All right. We really appreciate you coming out today. This was wonderful. We love the update and taking the time to come and meet with us especially.
Yeah, well, thank you all. Thanks for what you do. Feel free to reach out to our office. I take pride in our constituent services. We have a very good staff, and if there's anything we can do for any of your municipalities, any issues that we can work with federal agencies, please give us a call. And if you don't think that we're doing a good enough job, give me a personal call and I'll make sure that we do it. So thank you for your time. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Chairs out.
Okay, I do think we still have a quorum, so let's keep going. Public comment. It can be made before or during the meeting. During the meeting, public comment is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they would like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting for distribution to the committee members. And we do have a public comment today still. So go ahead and tell us who is online and, or if you're, yes, awesome. Come on up. I'll try it. Yes, I'll try and be somewhat strict on the time here.
There, thank you. Good morning. I'm Nancy McCaffrey. I'm a Colorado board member, and I simply want to share that on Friday, August 28th, in Pueblo, the Front Range Passenger Rail District will announce if there will be a ballot initiative for the Front Range Passenger Rail in November. Thank you.
Well, that's good. It is. I can't tell if my mic's working, but okay. Thank you. We'll look forward to hearing that announcement. Okay, our military installation reports. Could we start with Amy Kelly with the Air Force Academy and then David Tukmanian with Fort Carson? Go ahead, Amy.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair, everyone. Amy Kelly, I'm the Community Initiatives Director here at the Air Force Academy. Just 2 updates today. I wanted to make sure everyone knew that we had a change of command this past Friday. Our superintendent has changed out. We now have the 23rd superintendent. General Paul Max is his nickname, Moga. Paul Moga is taking over for Lieutenant General Tony Bauernfeind. General Moga was the previous commandant at the academy back in the 2023 timeframe, and he's also a 1995 academy grad. So we're looking forward to his tenure here and excited about what may come in his years here as the superintendent. Also wanted to talk just a little bit about the SOAR partnership because it did get some publicity. I noticed on Fox 21 News last week or the week before, Palmer Land Conservancy had a segment on it, and to make sure everyone knew about it, it does involve some of the military bases here in the region. SOAR stands for Security, Open Space, and Agricultural Resilience. And basically, it's a partnership between the Department of War and the Colorado State Land Board, and then the Palmer Land Conservancy, like I mentioned, Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust, Nature Conservancy, and the Trust for Public Land to conserve parcels of land owned by the State Land Board around 3 of our military installations, the Air Force Academy, Schriever Space Force Base, and Fort Carson. The one that we've made the most progress on so far is called Bohart Ranch, and it's around the Bullseye Auxiliary Airfield, which is the Air Force Academy's secondary airfield, which we do actually use quite a lot. It's about 32 nautical miles east of the Air Force Academy in El Paso County, just east of Schriever. And we've been working to acquire that 48,000 acre ranch and basically place a conservation easement on it and sell it to keep it in working agricultural use. So this is a program, conservation buffering program, that brings together a lot of different goals, from habitat preservation and species preservation to working agricultural economies to preservation of military missions. So, you know, folks that don't always have the same interests in alignment are coming together to make this a very ambitious project a reality. So again, there was a piece probably about 10 days ago on Fox 21 News from Rebecca Jewett, CEO of Palmer Land Conservancy, and I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of this ambitious conservation effort. And that's it.
Yes, thank you very much. Glad that I've been up in a cadet plane once before and landed at that little strip of land. It's a good piece of land to protect because they practice landing there. So, all right, let's go to David Tookmanian with Fort Carson.
Good morning, Madam Chair, ladies, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a pleasure to see you all. A few updates today. So yesterday we held our installation planning board, which is an annual event where we bring together our installation management command leadership along with our senior commander here at Fort Carson, and we determine the priorities for the upcoming year for the garrison. And so that was a fantastic event. One thing that we talked about yesterday that I'd like to bring up, what we have started considering here at Carson is the development of a wildland fire training facility. The military's current wildland fire training facility is in Florida. And I think that we all can agree that fighting a wildland fire in Florida is vastly different than anything we experience here in the West. And we want to be on the forefront of creating a facility that does that. We're looking at placing it within the border right by Gate 6, which is on 115, kind of by that the Big Beetle. I don't know if you've ever seen the Big Beetle on the side of 115 there. It's right there. So that's in the works. It's in the preliminary discussions, but it's something that we're heavily considering. Next, we're having our change of command here shortly, so I'm going to wrap this up very quickly because I'd like to get over to that. But our garrison change of command is going to take place this morning in about 12 minutes between Colonel Oxenvog, our outgoing garrison commander, and Colonel Warren, our incoming garrison commander. And so we say a sad farewell to Colonel Oxenvog, but he is staying in the area. Something about this place keeps all of our garrison commanders here when they retire. It's a great place to be. And then we welcome Colonel Warren, certainly, and his family. And then my final update, especially since Representative Crank was in the room, I'm sure he's left by now, but if he's still there, he helped us cut the ribbon for Carson Connector, our micro transit system. And I just wanted to share an update on our stats for July. Our second month in business has seen a 1,400% increase in ridership. And the reality is that at least for our community, we realize that the ring route is dead. We spent a lot of money driving around empty vans, wasting gas, wasting all kinds of maintenance to drive no one. And what we found is the on-demand signal is the way to go, or the on-demand approach is the way to go. And so, especially for all those mayors there with smaller communities and maybe smaller transit systems, if you find that your ridership is down, maybe consider a transition to an on-demand type of service. Pending any questions, that's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Okay, I don't see any questions, and enjoy your change of command ceremony. All right, Jeff, on with the Space Delta One.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the PPACG board. Few items to update. Powers Airport Interchange Project and then the Peterson Northgate Roundabout Project are progressing, and we are certainly enjoying all the progress that's being made. Looking forward to when the cones are removed and all lights are fully functional. I would like to make an update on the Soyuz study project. While we are expecting a final draft of the report by the end of the fiscal year, there will be some administrative government review processes that are going to take place in October and November. Revisions I can't speculate on, but I do know that that higher headquarters, legal, public affairs folks are going to have to come together and get the program totally right before it becomes publicly available. So just a little expectation management on that. We want to make sure that all the EMI and RF issues are addressed. Peterson had change of command SPD 1 had their change of command last month. Want to thank the community leadership who took the time out of their busy schedules to come out for that and support and welcome Colonel Charles Cooper to the helm. Additionally, Schriever participated in a USDA Undersecretary Richard Fordyce visit for an orientation and discussion on the readiness and environmental protection and integration program. And as Amy mentioned from the Air Force Academy, the SOAR initiative. This was out at Schriever in conjunction with multiple conservatory partners and local officials to address the needs in that region. And the last item I would like to brief is I want to thank Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments for establishing this military planning and coordination group. We had our initial meeting last month, and the feedback I received from the military attendees has been nothing but outstanding information. So appreciate it and look forward to seeing the fruit from that, and thank Andy for his leadership on that. Pending any questions, that's all I have for you.
Thank you. That was very good. Okay, let's go on to our consent items. These items will be acted upon as a whole unless they are called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen wishing to address the board. We've got the minutes, the financial reports, the freight plan release for public comment, and a site application for Peyton School District. Go ahead.
We possibly get a quick brief on the Peyton School District.
Sure, we could do a quick brief on the Peyton School District. Isn't that our water? Right?
I'm gonna ask, I don't know that Angie Martell, is she online and able to give a brief update? Environmental planner?
Hey everyone, this is Angie Martell, an environmental planner at PPA.
Uh-oh.
Oh, can you hear me?
We hear you now. You cut out for a second, but go for it.
Okay, anyway, I'll just start over. Environmental planner with PPACG. We also have the applicant online if you have any questions or want more information from the applicant. Basically, this application, it's for the Peyton School District. They have a very old wastewater treatment system that is way oversized for their needs. They purchased it from a hog farm apparently many years ago. And they have had over the years, the enrollment at the school has been decreasing, and this not enough water use for a really large system is causing issues with the system. So they would like to derate the system to under 2,000 gallons per day because their flows meet that. This is significant because all systems over 2,000 gallons per day are managed and permitted and all of that by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And those are for systems over 2,000 gallons per day. Systems under 2,000 gallons per day are permitted and everything by the El Paso County Public Health. So they would like to derate to work with the El Paso County Public Health instead. And that's kind of the basics of it. Our water quality committee didn't have any significant concerns, and the community advisor committee did not as well. So once they derate, they've been working pretty close with El Paso County Public Health to develop a new system that's more appropriate for the flows that they actually see out there. And so I think that's it. I can answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
My question would be, did El Paso County Public Health have any issues with this?
They are part of our water quality management committee and nothing came up through that. The applicants have also been working pretty closely alongside El Paso County Public Health throughout this entire process to work on the application and work on the design of the new system. So I haven't heard directly from El Paso County Public Health, but nothing's come up during our process.
You said they are a member of the committee?
Yes, they're actually a member of our site application review committee, which is before the WQMC. So just nuances there, but yes, they've been involved in our process.
Thank you.
All right, we've got some good questions there. Any other questions? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved, Councilman Donaldson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Our next one is action items, legislative update by Jared Verner.
Good morning, everyone. This is kind of a two-part piece. I'm going to start with the first one that's in your memo regarding Medicaid and senior transportation. To give a little bit of background, last month, the Regional Advisory Council, as well as members of our Commission on Aging, conducted a panel discussion on funding issues around senior transportation. There's been a lot of changes to federal and state programs that are targeted for senior transportation. And part of that discussion was Medicaid reimbursement rates. And that's kind of the focus of the action item here today. Several of our transportation providers have brought up through the last few months that the new changes at the state level for reimbursement rates is really causing some changes in how they operate. That reimbursement rate dropped from about $36 per ride to $12 per ride. Definitely hits our rural providers a lot harder than the urban ones, but the urban ones are not immune to this. Joint Budget Committee did discuss this particular reimbursement rate early in July. They were talking about raising it up slightly. They ultimately did not, kind of waited to see how it plays out essentially. I will say Representative Taggart is really the one championing this reimbursement rate on the JPC. Historically, we've always kept an eye on Medicaid, but have never really involved ourselves deeply into Medicaid. While seniors do make up a large proportion of Medicaid enrollees and the expenses of Medicaid, it is not a strictly senior program. It is an income-based program. But there's a lot of crossover between the populations. For example, Medicare, while it is an age-based program, does not cover long-term care facilities and costs, and that makes up roughly half of the national cost for Medicaid is long-term care facilities. Not every long-term care patient is a senior, but anecdotally, we can all understand that a large proportion of those tend to be seniors 60 and older, which is our federal mandate on the Older Americans Act. The reason this is kind of coming up and why we really wanted to bring it up sooner rather than later is the state has commissioned a Medicaid commission. It's 6 members of the Joint Budget Committee plus 4 additional members. Unfortunately, none of those 10 members are from our region, but the commission has met a few times already this summer. They are charged by mid-December to come up with recommendations for the next General Assembly to figure out how to address the Medicaid budget challenges. As I said, we keep an eye on Medicaid for a couple of reasons. One, when Medicaid changes happen, it tends to impact seniors. It impacts how the calls for service we get. And then secondarily, it's just a massive part of the general fund expenditures right now. And so there's a couple of things on why we typically keep an eye on Medicaid. But the commission is meeting this fall. They are making recommendations, and we would like to be able to, with your blessing, have seniors at that table as well. There's a lot of other groups that are very organized when it comes to the Medicaid impacts. Children's groups, depending on like for paid caregivers and that kind of stuff, they're at the table. They're making their voices heard. And we would like to be able to engage at the senior side as well. In this discussion, the Regional Advisory Council did develop several bullet points. If you want to scroll up just a little bit, Tommy, that they said, hey, these are how it fits into a senior discussion. We had a lot of discussion at the legislative committee. Legislative committee ultimately said, yes, we agree. Let's go ahead and engage and give staff that permission. And that's what we're asking for the board to approve today. Happy to answer any questions as well. I will mention Laura Chronic. She serves here as 2 hats while she is a city council member for the town of Monument. She's also the chair of our regional advisory council. I could probably answer some questions as well.
Okay, we did discuss this at our legislative committee pretty seriously. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Stone.
It's not a question, but just a comment. I want to encourage us to support this. This change in the reimbursement rates for the Medicare, Medicaid rides, Medicaid specifically, it has a disproportionate impact on our rural transportation systems. Park County Senior Coalition, Teller County Senior Coalition, and you think about going from $36 to $12 reimbursement per ride. And what a ride looks like is that, you know, in ours, for Teller County Senior Coalition is centrally located in Divide, but they serve an area that goes all the way literally from Guffey in Park County and then Eastern Park County out to, you know, the west of Lake George, and they have to go out and pick somebody up. So that could be 30 to 45 minutes if it's on the southern side of our county or the western side. It also, by the way, serves eastern El Paso County, Green Mountain Falls, and the U Pass area. They go and they have to pick them up. So there's maybe 25 to 30 minutes to go pick them up. They get no reimbursement for that. They get the reimbursement for the ride to wherever they're going. Most of the time for us, those rides are going to Colorado Springs because that's where the vast majority of those services are provided at. So that driver's now taking them to Colorado Springs. They have to wait for them to be done with that, then return them back, and then return back to or be dispatched to a different location. But it takes that one driver, one vehicle out for potentially 3 hours for one ride that they get $24 for. And they go backwards. Now, there's a comment in here that Teller County Senior Coalition is in kind of a wait and see mode. I'd say a more accurate depiction of what they are doing is they are in a, we're going to backfill this with our own funds. You've seen the other agencies there saying that they're $750,000 short. Park County said they're $100,000 short. Teller County Senior Coalition is experiencing that same deficit. However, they are not going to reduce services by backfilling out of other funds that they have, but obviously cannot do that forever. So the wait and see is more like a wait and pray that this gets better, because you know, it's a system that right now will not work over the long term and will result in services being cut, and it's probably going to be cut for those who need it most, which are those who are in the far-flung rural areas who do not have access to either transportation, either by themselves or family because of the remoteness of where they live, which is kind of in opposition with this whole idea of allowing people to age in place. We need to be able to continue to provide these services. So long-winded way to say, please support this.
Okay. All right, and do we also want to move on and discuss the whole report, the Build America Act?
I'm happy to.
Or do we want to first approve this one? I'll take a motion. How about this? I'll take a motion for approval to support the first proposal, which is to be in the room, I guess.
So moved.
Second.
Anytime I say that, I go back and play Alexander Hamilton's in the room several times. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, any opposed? Thank you. Let's go on to our federal agenda here.
All righty, the next part, we briefly mentioned it a little bit earlier about the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, HR 8870. Right now, currently PPACG is a monitor position on this bill. There are a lot of, it had just come out. We're still diving in. We're still in a lot of various calls with our national counterparts, our regional counterparts, just to try to figure out what this bill looks like. In that time, we've seen what the bill is and what it looks like. We have signed on, I will say, with the board's permission, signed on to a letter with a lot of our counterpart agencies in the Intermountain West. That link is there. It was also in our newsletter in case anyone saw it. But it just outlines several changes that we would like to see in the bill. at the end of the day, if none of those changes are incorporated, if the bill passes as introduced, I think we would be very happy with it. It accomplishes a lot of the things that we went into this reauthorization bill trying to achieve. It gives a lot of more flexibility to locals, specifically for bridges and off-system bridges that tend to get kind of sucked up with the on-system bridges at the state level. It allows for NPOs to be direct recipient of federal planning funds. It increases federal planning funds, and it decreases the local match required to access those funds. That's just a highlight. Like I said, there's a lot of things we like of this bill. We would like a few other things to change in the process, but at the end of the day, we are in support of this bill, and we would like to be able to make that position known by changing from a monitor to support with the board's blessing today.
Any questions? I will take a motion to support this bill.
Amy Mitchell, so moved.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. for
Thank
your
you.
Continued efforts on this. All right, our next item, it looks like it's going to be Josh, so that must pull it back up my schedule. Human trafficking roundtable event.
Awesome. Thank you, board, and good morning. I'd just like to take a couple minutes of your time to tell you about something that's happening next Thursday, August 20th. The summer's flown by at 10 a.m. and to invite you, all of you, to be there for the Regional Human Trafficking Awareness and Resource Roundtable. So trafficking in our region doesn't stay inside any one jurisdiction. It moves along our freight corridors, through our ports of entry, and across our own transit system. The people best positioned to recognize it are the truck drivers, transit operators, state troopers, city officers, and they work for different organizations and follow different protocols and rarely have the chance to sit down together. This roundtable creates that chance. It gives everyone in the room a chance to share the understanding of what to look for and what to do next in our region. So the morning, we're planning on opening with PPACG and participate introduction, so everyone and every organization knows who else is at that table. Then we have 5 presentations lined up that kind of all just build on each other. First, we have Maggie Dawson of Truckers Against Trafficking, who opens on prevention and intervention. So how state agencies in the commercial vehicle industry work together to disrupt trafficking. Then we have Desiree Wood of Real Women in Trucking that follows with freight planning and worker vulnerability. So she kind of turns the lens around. So like that same workforce, we're asking to watch out for other faces, real exposure of its own. Then we have Captain Aaron Robertos and LaDonna Rogers of the Colorado State Patrol. They will cover smuggling, trafficking, and interdiction, including the role of the port of entry into our jurisdictions. That's the enforcement side. So kind of what troopers encounter on our highways and how routine inspections becomes those crucial intervention points. Then we have Sergeant Scott Snyder of the Colorado Springs Police Department. He's going to bring the municipal perspective that connects the corridors to our neighborhoods. I'm still working on him to get his presentation finalized. And then finally, we have Brianna Farber of Mountain Metro Transit, and she's going to present on Transit on Watch, on confronting trafficking within our transit system here in the Springs, buses and stations where these corridors touch everyone's daily lives. Then PPACG will offer the closing remarks and help the group identify where we go from here in this crucial topic. I think what makes this worth your morning is the stage itself, state agencies all collaborating together, law enforcement and transit, the full length of the corridor represented in one place. So it's going to be Thursday, August 20th at 10 a.m. and I hope all you all will join us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your efforts to put this together. Item B, the AAA final funding allocation, Carol McBroom.
Hey, good morning, Carol McBroom, PPACG Finance Director.
I'm here to give you the final AAA funding allocations. We've talked about it already this morning about the Older Americans Act funding. The process started back last September when we put out a NOFA and an RFP process. We had providers step forward. It went through the TRS committee, it went through the RAC, and then we brought the funding allocations to you guys back in April. It was preliminary because we didn't have the final funding numbers. Once we do have the final, now that we do have the final funding numbers, I can report to you the final. And we didn't make any changes in the provider side of the funding. We did receive a little bit of extra funding than we expected, and that did go into internal programs, which we held back to ensure that the providers were funded at the time we presented to you guys. So in your packet, I do show that I just wanted to point out that we did receive just a little bit less than we have in the last couple of years. We're down to a total of 5.884 million. And also in your packet, you will see the actual providers. I'm not going to go over this report because, again, we did see it back in April, but happy to answer any questions about the providers. And just to remind you that there are no changes in this report. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, do we have any questions? All right. So we'll go on to item number C, the 2026 mid-year financials and work plan update. Looks like, Carol, you get all the next.
I know, right? Yes, sorry.
It's your month.
Yes. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the work plan progress. And in your packet, the managers have given you very detailed descriptions of all the great things that they have done since January to June of this year. This is my favorite presentation because I get to actually, talk great about this team that we have. I'm honored to brag about them, really. So I'll start with AAA. The AAA team just does tremendous in community engagement through volunteer appreciation. Older Americans Month, they did a caregiver support events called the Pampering Day, which is always a big event here, and we love it. Helps caregivers kind of reflect and gives them peace on their hard work that they do. We participated in the Colorado Senior Games. And then there's ongoing direct service and outreach efforts. And again, we just talked about the funding for the providers that we collaborate with. And did you know that we have a blog and a podcast? I think that's pretty amazing. So AAA is hard at work. And on the transportation side, PPACG completed and adopted the fiscal year 27 through 2031 Transportation Improvement Program. They supported the Regional Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, and they continued work on regional freight planning and traffic safety education. The military program, their planning efforts focused on wildlife and post-fire flood risk, critical infrastructure coordination, and continued pursuit of the old CC funding to support regional military installations and within the surrounding communities. The environmental planning, we've talked about this over today again, that remains active on both air quality and water quality, which includes the Intermountain West Ozone Collaboration Planning for the 2026 Ozone Conference coming up in October, continued public outreach, the stormwater coordination, and regional water quality General Assembly, website updates and review of more than 600 bills with adoption of 21. Admin, did you notice a new parking lot? Paved parking lot, looking good. Continued building improvements, HR recruitment, we're hiring great staff, IT supports, and continued great office operations. So really, overall, this reflects the progress across PPACG's work plan, and it demonstrates the organization's continued focus on regional partnership, accountability, public service, and effective use of resources. And again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's very detailed in your package if you want to read more. Any questions on the work plan?
Any questions? Yes, the parking lot does look nice.
Great job, Cheryl. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the where we are financially for the first 6 months of the year. And really, it sums up that we're exactly where we should be. 50% of budgeted revenue. I break it out by programs. Overall, everybody is where they need to be. The outliers, the military and the environmental, is only due to timing. They will catch up as the year goes on. But our revenue is in line. And then the next slide, I talk about expenses because it's important that we don't spend more than we make. And we again are on target. We're budget to actuals, we're at 50% overall on expenses. I wanted to specifically point out admin, and we are at 54%, almost 55% budget to actuals, and that's just a timing issue as well. So we are looking good there. And I think it's always important that y'all know where the government member dues are going. And again, we are within 55% of budget to actuals. It's a timing issue, and it'll all even out over the year. So financially, revenues and expenses are in line for the half of the year. And then the last slide, I wanted to talk about new grants, kind of hurrah there. We did get the military program did get a new grant for a little over 400,000 from the OLCC. It's going to fund design and review of public infrastructure and public services necessary to support military installations. We did get a 300,000 environmental grant, and it is to help fund the 2026 Intermountain West Ozone Exchange Conference to be held in October in Loveland. We received our grant renewals on the CPG funding. We received grant renewals on our safety grant and our street lights program. AAA received their funding, which we just talked about. And we've received funding renewals on the SHIP and S&P programs. And on the mobility side, we received funding for the FTA mobility. And we're already in process of working on next year's funding for all of those different programs. Anyway, that is the update financially. Any questions?
Are there any questions? We do the budget here towards the end of the year, am I right? Or is that next January?
Budget is next. I will talk about the budget schedule.
Okay.
Can I move on with that? Okay.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I just getting there.
Yeah.
After 8 years here, I'm finally getting it.
Okay, so this we just probably like you all, we're starting the fiscal year 27 budget process. And so just wanted to kind of get your mind rolling that we also need your input, part of the board. You help us determine how we're going to handle member dues. Will we keep them flat or will we increase them? We look for you for help on the personnel side, how we will handle increases. And then overall, I'll bring the budget to you for adoption. And just a reminder, we did not do a member dues increase last year. And many years ago, it was decided that members dues would be increased by the CPI of Denver based in July. And that number has not come out yet. I checked yesterday, I didn't check this morning, but the May's increase year over year is 5%. So we're estimating the member and dues increase will be 5%. But again, that is something that y'all can talk about and give us feedback on. We'll reach out to our jurisdictions to see where you will be landing on the personnel increase to help us determine what we should do internally, because we do try to keep that in line with your organizations as well. So we're looking for feedback, in those areas. The key dates really is October. We're going to do an extended board workshop. And at that workshop, we will discuss the member dues and the salary expectations, and we'll have a report on any major budget changes and work plan changes. And then in November is when you'll see your first draft budget, and then you'll give me feedback. And then December coming back, looking for adoption.
A few important points there. We always spend significant time talking about, we do need to do an increase probably in dues this year. So as we start to get those numbers and determine what those will be, maybe we can get those out to the jurisdictions so that you can discuss that with your budget staff. Because I know frequently for the smaller towns, it can be a hard lift. So we want to make sure to give you a heads up on that. And then the other discussion we frequently spend a lot of time on is the pay increases. And so I know we're starting our budget here in El Paso County in a few weeks. And so as you go through your budgeting with your own jurisdictions, if you can keep track of what your proposed pay increases might be, so that we can come back here and try and find a good number that matches all of our jurisdictions. I know the PPACG staff really appreciates it, that we're thinking of them as we come to these meetings. And those are some longer meetings we have coming up. So we appreciate all the work that Carol goes to and Andy goes to bring us a good budget and make sure that we take care of our membership here and the people who work here for us as well. Thank you. Okay.
And Madam Chair, I will share that I did a meeting, Jared and I, about 2 weeks ago with the city, town, county managers, and did share out the local dues. If they went up by 5%, what it would look like in each one of the jurisdictions. Asked for feedback. Haven't heard any significant heartburn yet, but I think they're all still kind of processing everything. But it's good timing for those that are on a calendar year, fiscal year, like we are as well. So that process has kind of gotten started.
Okay, we are moving along here. So now we're up to other reports and minutes. The Transportation Advisory Committee, the Community Advisory Committee, the Mobility Coordinating Working Group, the RAC, the Commission on Aging, the Air Quality Working Group, the Water Quality Management Committee are all in your folder. So now we are ready to hear from our favorite gentlemen at CDOT, Shane and John.
Good morning, board. I'm Shane Ferguson with CDOT. Just a couple of quick brief updates from me before I turn it over to John. Excited to share that we are wrapping up on a couple of our major projects. We're going to have ribbon cuttings for Airport and Powers on September 10th, and then a ribbon cutting for the I-25 Fillmore Garden of the Gods will be September 24th. So definitely excited to see those two projects come to completion. Next week is our Transportation Commission meeting. Primarily the agenda is covering budget supplements, budgets, workshops, etc. But Region 2 is presenting on kind of the success story that we had at the Aspen Creek fires with a quick bridge replacement project that we did with our maintenance team, where we replaced a small bridge culvert system in about 11 hours. And so just be able to allow the fire department and emergency services to navigate through that fire as it was going through. So that being said, I can turn it over to John and be available for questions as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for Highway 67 and the completion. That looks absolutely beautiful. Good stuff.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. And Commissioner Weissel.
I believe tentatively scheduled for 10 a.m. So that's a great question. I don't believe we've
They're gonna put it right in the middle of the freeway and stop traffic for 3 hours.
It's gonna be exciting, but there we go. No, I'm not sure if that's been determined yet. Absolutely.
You know, if you have it in the American Furniture Warehouse parking lot, everybody can go shopping afterwards.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll be sure to get out those ribbon cutting information to everybody. So
Thank you for having me, members of the board. Go to the quick project update. Active construction projects. The top three have already been mentioned. The discussion here. So Powers and Airport, Fillmore, I-25, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods, 67 North Woodland Park. Also a backplate installation project, basically just upgrading a little bit on the signals through town. Northbound I-25 way in motion station replacement and replacing traffic signals at Fountain Boulevard, Academy Park Loop, and US 24 at Stapleton in east of town. So again, we've already talked about the status on the first three of those projects. Will not be a ribbon cutting for the Woodland Park project, sorry. Actually, I was just driving through there today. Sadly, there's a lane closure up here today too, though, but we're still wrapping up the landscaping and stuff like that. And at least that's not impacting traffic or anything. So,
we can get you a banner and a crown if you need.
yeah.
We can always go to Burger King.
Backplate insulation, just incidentally, they're waiting on materials. The way in motion statement, way in motion station up replacement in the monument there. Just FYI, we're kind of tracking some big events, obviously the Renaissance Festival, State Fair, and the Bruno Mars concert at the Air Force Academy, or concerts even in particular, as events that we're definitely going to avoid. As of this morning, I don't think that they have actually determined where in between those or after all those events they're going to do that that weekend's worth of work. We'll have some impacts of the lane taken on northbound I-25. Plan projects for the future. We're on pretty good track on all of these. I-25 wildlife and that's a Region 1 project technically, but the Greenland Overpass project is continuing to extend wildlife fence down through and south of Monument. 2 traffic projects. So our traffic unit is working on I-83 and County Line Road traffic signal replacement, and 83 and Stagecoach Road intersection improvements at the roundabout. Also, next 3 projects, we're also looking to advertise here this fall and on track to advertise. Everything's looking good in terms of estimates and all, although I'll make a little caveat on Judge Orr. So the Garrett US 24G Garrett to Woodman, of course, that's the $50 million plus 10-year project. So we're really excited to have that kind of that last fully funded 10-year project in the Pikes Peak area get under construction next year. Again, US 24 and Judge Orr intersection improvements includes Bluegill. We're working with El Paso County in that one in particular. Paso County is the one who initially put in for a lot of the funding requests for it. You'll see next month a request just to slide what has been kind of a placeholder mobility and safety funding and the RPP funding, and now apply it to a real project. We're going to apply it to Judge Orr intersection. So, and then to get that project fully funded and ready to go. And then Green Mountain Falls, a safety improvement project up there to just improve that turn area. The next slide is Central Front Range projects, just in case anybody has any questions on those. Active construction projects, resurfacing of Colorado 69A highway, that's Texas Creek South in Fremont County. US 24 resurfacing out past Peyton and through Calhan, includes a passing lane that's under construction, and very happy the last board to hear some positive feedback from that. So we appreciate that. And 115 concrete maintenance and rehab down in Penrose as well. Future projects in the Central Front Range area. We have resurfacing of US 50, Penrose to the Pueblo County line. That one's looking, all lines go to advertise here in October and be under construction next year. We have a resurfacing on highway.
So all the work on 25 is going to be, completed and cleaned up by September 24th.
Yes, as with all of our construction projects, we have some striping, a lot of times striping and things like that, but that is the plan.
All right.
It'll be substantially complete.
Substantially.
You've been in politics too long.
We don't.
I have been in politics too long. Jared, we may have tripped a switch over here under some of these microphones.
But it's on track. I drove down today and I just didn't think, man, this looks like they're about to pull the barriers off of here, but
Well, I will say, like, one thing that might drag is just that the finished replacement of that barrier on Garden of the Gods Bridge, for example, that could, not technically be done. That had to be change ordered in. That was not originally in the scope of work with the bridge repair and stuff like that, but it just deteriorated for the bridge repair, and so that was an added element. So you could see that. The SMA, the top course is a stone mastic asphalt, so stone matrix, which Dale we read that. It's a finicky mix, and they should be putting that on and getting that all.
the plan is to have the ceremony, even if there's, 5% still to go or something like that.
Yeah, I think typically.
Yeah, okay. Just double check and thank you.
We should have the lanes pretty much open. I mean, it is a full width.
That would be great. That would be much appreciated.
And Councilwoman Williams would like to speak.
Good morning. Thank you. Just want to say thank you for the striping and UPass. It's absolutely wonderful. So appreciate that. And Shane, as you know, I have ongoing little tiny lists, but they're nothing compared to all your ribbon cuttings. So congratulations on bringing those projects to completion.
Awesome. And Shane, my only question for you, we know that Shoshana Liu is leaving at the end of the year, and Herman Stockinger has decided to retire. And Herman has been there for 30 years, so they have to replace him with 3 people. One whom is Jeff Sudemeyer. Could you tell us who the other 2 are?
Oh, right. So there was call it a reorganization, but it's more of a shuffling to kind of prepare the next administration to come in. And you're right, Herman has many hats and really took on a large shoulder of load as he was working through. And so basically the reorganization is executive director, correct? And then 3 deputy executive directors, and Jeff Sudemeyer took on one of the responsibilities, and Sally Chafee took on one of the responsibilities, and then Keith Stefanik, who's our chief engineer, took on the 3rd responsibility, and then everything kind of shuffles from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Commissioner Stone.
Yeah, George, I was thinking, since they're not doing a ribbon cutting on 67, and I agree, it looks great. Cruise Above the Clouds is coming, and we could just do a cruise on 67. Let those classic cars out on that baby smooth asphalt, just like in the movie Cars, and I think that would probably do it.
There you go.
Right on.
All right, so changes coming up at CDOT. I called Jeff Sudemeyer probably next to Nikki Stimmons and the City of Colorado Springs financial officer. Jeff Sudemeyer probably is one of the smartest financial people I know. So if he can handle CDOT's budget, he's probably got it down. Okay, so that's it. That was my question for you. It was a tough one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I knew you were worried. Okay, so we'll go on to the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee. We did meet this month. I pulled up the agenda. We had a Region 4 presentation, which is all of the work going on up on I-25 north of Denver, about around the Buc-ee's up there in Fort Collins. So we had an ARPA funding update. And then also we did not have a legislative report because they do not have a legislative agenda they're pursuing yet until we elect a new governor and have a transition team there in place and they get new leadership. And we had a bridge and tunnel enterprise update, a scenic byways update, but I actually probably out of everything we talked about enjoyed the most watching the Region 4 update because it was fascinating to see what they've been doing. Many of you may not know we leaped over that project. They were next up in line, and when we got the grant between here and Douglas County to expand our lanes in Douglas County, we jumped ahead of the project there, I-25 North, and that's been a source of contention between me and Weld County Commissioner Scott James for several years. But now they're getting their project done, and it's starting to look real nice if you can make it through those lanes where you all drive on the same side of the road. So that was it. And it was a good meeting. So if you have any questions, we'll send the minutes out because I don't have that great of a summary here with me. Yes, please.
Just one other comment on transportation while we're talking about it, just to make this group aware. CCI is impaneled a road and bridge working group that is exploring solutions to the continually dwindling transportation funding that actually gets to roads and bridges. I don't know if I'm sure they'll be reaching out to CML on that as well to be active participants in that as partners. But we had our first meeting of that just this last month and set up a series of monthly meetings moving forward. Obviously, a lot of changes, as we heard today, with CDOT fully expected in the leadership there. So a little bit of, I guess, paralysis or as we wait to see what the next administration, who that will be and what that organization might look like. But counties are working on it. I'm sure they're going to engage with the cities as well, but wanted to make you aware of it.
Okay, our Front Range passenger rail update. Commissioner Applegate, if you have anything.
Yes, thank you. So the big one is coming up Friday, August 28th. They're going to be at the Transportation Technology Center in Pueblo, and we're going to be talking about the final vote on whether we want to send a ballot initiative to the ballot for November. So the tax increase they've talked about is 0.33%. And so if we vote yes, push it forward, it will go to the voters. And so at that point, it's in the citizens' hands.
It's 0.33%?
0.33. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that's the final numbers they've settled on. So from the planning, they were actually, it was last month, why I was I couldn't remember exact numbers because they were actually in that planning meeting during this meeting, setting the final tax rate. So yeah, and that's all I have. And so reach out to anybody from the board, voice your opinions. There'll be some public comment, I think, during that meeting. So feel free to reach out, and then we'll see where the public is at with this. So
go ahead, Commissioner Stone.
And just for clarification, that's a sales tax increase specifically within that newly redrawn tax zone. Is that?
Yeah, basically anywhere borders along the rail lines. But I know that like Douglas County right now, like basically they've opted out. So they're just saying that like we don't want a station and they don't want to be exempted from this. So if it goes to a ballot initiative, but any cities that are included in that zone.
Is it a certain amount of miles on either side of the railroad?
I think so. I think it's, I want to say 5 mile radius. If the city's within 5 mile radius. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're within a 5 mile radius of the rail line, and if you haven't basically opted out of your city out of it or your county.
Yeah, Teller County's not part of it. I think Woodland Park was excluded early on, fairly. It was initially supposed to be part of all the MPOs would be in it, but then later it was excluded, which I think was a positive thing because obviously it's not going to.
You're not ever going to get
a
station.
There's nothing running up the pass anytime soon.
We'll be lucky to get a station in El Paso County in my lifetime. So, but I am in that 5 mile radius, on one side of it. So, it will be a tax that affects me.
Right, exactly. So
you can probably guess how I'm going to vote. Okay, thank you. And good luck at that meeting. We'll be watching it anxiously to see what happens. We have a list of committee and commission vacancies in the folder. Please be sure to review those. And if your jurisdiction has a vacancy, give Andy a call and let's see if we can find someone who can serve on that. Andy, our executive director's report.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of items real briefly. We alluded to the Ozone Exchange Air Quality Conference earlier today, but our dates are set October 26, 27, 28. It's going to be up in Loveland. We're partnering closely with the North Front Range MPO and Weld and Larimer counties to pull this off. They're in the non-attainment area. We're not so far. But registration is open. I'm going to blast out a note this week to the board and other stakeholders across our region that are interested in attending. But registration is finally open for the event. We're keeping it relatively cost effective because we want to make sure we get really good turnout from policy folks, air quality specialists, researchers, and others. And we've been getting a ton of interest so far. At a call with folks in Las Vegas yesterday, I think it is, and they're sending, I think, 6 people just from Clark County, Nevada. But there's just an awful lot of interest across the Intermountain West. It's a high priority in places like Phoenix and Salt Lake City and Las Vegas and elsewhere. So really excited about the response we've been getting so far on the exchange, the ozone exchange. Shifting gears, thank you, Jeff, for the comments about the great meeting last week. What are we calling it? The Military Community Coordination and Communications Group. We tried to keep it relatively small, working with our federal funders at DoD with our most recent grant, but there was interest in making sure we get good representation from our installations, and then the key stakeholders in our region that are impacted by military operations, especially the city, the county, and Fountain. But if other jurisdictions, Mayor LeKind, if Monument, if you'd like to have somebody there to hear what's going on around the Air Force Academy, for instance, or any other jurisdiction wants to be in the room, by all means, let us know. But it was a great conversation, not just around the topics that are in our current grant that we're working on, but other issues like infrastructure and resource issues and compatibility and encroachment. I mean, just a lot of really important topics that are part of the conversation. We'd love to really keep this going. I don't think this conversation is really happening in a consistent way across the region. So we see it as a really good forum just to kind of dig into some really tough issues between the military and the community that we need to coordinate on a little bit better. Related to this, we're going to set up a kind of a special session in October, and everybody should get an invitation for this, but it's October 13th. I don't think we sent anything out yet, but we're working with the Colorado Information and Analysis Center. It's a department or configuration within state government folks and different entities across the state, really looking at risks and vulnerabilities across the state that impact our military installations, population in general, but especially that could impact our military installations. So think about like water supply up in the mountains, where it comes down to, say, Colorado Springs Utilities, and then they provide water to, say, Fort Carson or other installations in our region. This group, and they go by KAYAK, Colorado Information Analysis Center, they're studying these risks and vulnerabilities statewide, and it's really eye-opening when we spend some time with them and find out what's on their radar, what we as local communities should be aware of as well. So we'll kick out an invite for that. It's just coming together this week, but we've got a date. I think it's going to be in the afternoon on October 13th. But really want to get as many people in the room as they can to kind of hear what they've been studying and what they're coming up with and what we can do about it, just making sure that we're aware. So just really important work that's taking place in that area. And the last thing I'll mention, just kind of picking up on where Carol left off as far as budget and all the planning we're doing for 2027. I think we're going to do kind of an expanded budget workshop, or at least a focused workshop in October on the budget and the work plan. So we'll get some information on that out sooner rather than later. That's our regular Friday workshop date. You can be remote for that, but in person as well if you want, but more coming on that. But it's going to be a challenging year next year, I think, just given our local dues needs. Carol did allude to the fact that we skipped a dues increase this year for 2026, but we definitely need to do one in 27 that's consistent with CPI, with inflation that we're tracking, and just some other tough decisions that we need to make, and just some good feedback that we'll need from the board. So more to come on that.
Okay.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Stone has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. On this, the Clean Air Symposium that's going on up there, I noticed Dr. Cog's not listed in there. Salt Lake is, Phoenix is, so other major Western cities that are impacted by this. I mean, is Dr. Cog, are they okay with what's happening to them at being in unattainment, or are they ozone deniers? What's Dr. Cog's position on this? Because I would assume that they would want relief the same as the other cities in the West, based upon as already been mentioned. I mean, the altitude base ozone levels, plus also the the smoke issues coming not only from fires outside our region but also outside the country.
It's a great semi-loaded question maybe, but they're very, very
Look,
engaged.
I'm actually just wondering what they're,
Yeah.
where are they on this? It was a little loaded, but where are they on this?
They're involved and very much in support of what we're doing. Quite frankly, the two agencies, PPACG, and I would give more credit to the North Front Range MPO for taking the lead, and we're strong supporters. So it's the two of us, our two agencies are really leading this effort. But others are on board with it as well, including Dr. Cog, and all of our other regions and our MPOs across the Intermountain West are super supportive. And involved at different levels of support. We've gotten a couple of our agencies as financial supporters for the event. Dr. Cog hasn't kicked in anything financially, but had a great call with my counterpart, Doug Rex, yesterday or the day before about a panel discussion on what all we're doing in the transportation space to reduce emissions. So they're fully on board with it. I would say that Elizabeth Relford, my counterpart up in North Front Range, and us, we kind of get it and are a little bit more willing to lean forward into this a little more so than some of the other regions. They all get it, but it's an awful lot of work. And we've got a lot of people that are working on it between Jared and Carol and Angie and a handful of others. But we decided nothing else is happening. EPA did a similar kind of event like this 10 years ago, but then nothing happened. So we've got a vested stake in making sure that something actually happens this time around. And we're getting just a tremendous response. Like I mentioned, EPA is going to be part of the conversations. We have like 50 different panel discussions, I think, over a 3-day period. So it's going to be a little intense, but we want to make sure we've got a big enough space, and we do to get all the right people in the room to educate folks. Let's all understand the challenges we're dealing with uniquely in the Intermountain West, and then what do we do with that going forward? So long way of saying it. Dr. Cog involved, supportive. They, for various reasons, kind of have to watch their level of support, but they're very much involved and they're going to be part of the conversations, as is the RAC, the Regional Air Quality Council, which is sort of the planning body for air quality issues in Denver and the North Front Range area.
Andy, I have a question for you, Madam Chair. Please.
You can have to the convention maybe. No, they're good people. When their number one project was a big wildlife bridge in Douglas County, as opposed to doing something around Bronco Stadium and Santa Fe and up there on I-25, I questioned, but it was probably, if I'm correct, looking at my CDOT folks, it was probably weighing in on what they could afford versus the money they had. And the wildlife bridge was probably attainable, and fixing I-25 through the middle of downtown Denver was not. But they're also, I think, in charge of the Floyd Hill construction. And that's pretty amazing if you get to drive through that and see it. You almost have to pull off the side of the road just to see what's going on. So very amazing efforts going on there. But yeah, it's not the kind of doctor you want to go see for any serious issues, unless you're having problems breathing. They got that one down. Okay. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I went on a little 2-minute comedy monologue there, didn't I? Okay. All right, let's go around the room and see what we have happening. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Colorado Springs, we have the Labor Day liftoff. Hard to believe that that's going to happen between now and our next meeting. And then just a public service announcement. The data center was appealed, and City Council will be hearing that at a special meeting on September 17th, and that will be at the Pikes Peak Center. So just wanted to put that on anybody's radar since we talked about that today. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Jones.
Yeah, Eric, I assume you're going to take the Teller County Sheriff fundraiser. Did you have that on your list? Oh, okay. Well, this Friday, Teller County Sheriff is doing a fundraiser, a golf scramble in Woodland Park, so that'll be fun, and then dinner at Chamonix and Cripple Creek. So they're kind of spreading the love around a little bit there. This weekend, starting Friday, we've got the Rock Gem and Jewelry Show, and this is a long-standing show that's been up in Woodland Park for, I want to say, at least 20 years. And then I'm going to keep pounding the drum on Oktoberfest Above the Clouds. This will be September 18th through the 20th, with the main event on Saturday, September 19th. That's all I got.
Okay, Mayor Stern.
Yeah, I'm not sure how up to date everyone is, but we've been without a town manager for over a year. And for numerous reasons, mostly that we've been without a town attorney for quite some time as well. But we, this last week, offered a contract to a new administrator. And it was, to my knowledge, it's been accepted. He should be starting here soon. So hopefully, the town of Palmer Lakes administration will function more efficiently going forward. Thank you.
Mayor Dixon.
So tonight, we start our summer music series up in Green Mountain Falls. We have Tenderfoot Bluegrass tonight on August 26th. Lucky here, I don't know. And then September 9th is Manitou String. Huh? Whoa, okay, well, they're gonna be there August.
Well, you have at least one person coming.
Yeah. Hey, so anyway, they're starting that up. And I just got a message from former Mayor Graham, who's planning to meet us for lunch at Roots.
There you go, lunch at Rudy's. Go ahead, Mayor Johnson.
All right. So yeah, our big news, we settled with the COG Railway. So the city of Manitou Springs is free and clear and working on next steps, which is great. And also we have the Commonweal Art Festival coming up Labor Day weekend. And so that's always a big deal for us. They've been doing it for well over 50 years. So it's a nice opportunity to come to Manitou and enjoy the art.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Donaldson.
Yeah, thank you. And just to add a little bit to what Brandy said, the hearing that'll be on the 17th of September, which is a Thursday at the Pikes Peak Center, starts at 9 a.m. For citizens. If citizens want to speak at that, you could contact Sam Friedman, who works for City Council, and he's at 385-5480 to sign up for one of the slots for citizen comment on that item. And they are limited, so if you want to do that. And then the only other thing I have is it was mentioned about this kayak group that is studying vulnerabilities of I guess infrastructure, we could call it, or water. And just so everybody knows, Colorado Springs Utilities is constantly assessing any vulnerabilities and taking measures to secure those all the way from the reservoirs up at the Continental Divide along the route back down here to Colorado Springs, and all of our infrastructure locally also. So that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We in Park County are glad that all our summer events are over. It's been a really busy summer. But we do have Lake George Fire Protection District. We all have just special districts for our fire. They have a spaghetti dinner this Saturday, starting at 4 o'clock. That is their major annual fundraiser, and a really cool silent auction. So if you're driving through Park County, stop and have spaghetti dinner. Also, we've got 2 new slash collections. We're doing a 5-week every Saturday slash collection for Lake George, at our 11-mile pit and in Jefferson, just because we are trying to help our residents mitigate their properties for additional fire protection. So that's just something new we're doing. We got a little bit of a grant from the Central Colorado Forest Collaborative that we've been working on for several years. So I'm sure none of you want to make the drive all the way up there to get rid of your slash, but it's a big deal for Park County. So thank you.
Commissioner Weissong.
First thing I want to start off with is think free. On August 22nd, 50th anniversary of the Bear Creek Nature Center, the oldest nature center in the state of Colorado. They're having their big celebration. So it's Saturday the 22nd from 10 to 2. Put it on your calendars, pull out your phones, and attend. It should be a lot of fun. Second is, thinking about our veterans. We've got about 100,000 of them here in El Paso County. Commissioner Applegate, myself, along with Congressman Crank. We attended the Purple Heart Trail dedication last Friday at American Legion Post 209. And the best part about it is they sponsor a couple of Boy Scout troops. And this was an Eagle Scout project. And it's pretty impressive. I haven't been by at night, but they've got a plaque on a pretty good sized boulder, and it's backlit, with a purple LED light, which of course Purple Heart is purple. And so, I mean, it's just one of those kind of unique things. And then probably one of the most important elements, and I'm sure it will be talked about at every meeting by all three commissioners, the public safety tax. 1B will be on the ballot in November. This is a continuation of the current public safety tax. If you want to break it down really simply, this supports the sheriff, which is the jail portion of it, which impacts every municipality in El Paso County. They also have a wildfire operation. It's fully staffed. They teamed with the state wildfire group. They have a lot of permanent residents and vehicles that actually are housed right there on Mark Shuffle, or not Mark Shuffle. Right close to I-25. And I mean, they have been crazy busy this year, obviously, with the wildfires. So this 1B being a tax continuation, it is a big deal. And as George was talking about, a fundraiser for Teller County Sheriff, this is a $40+ million impact for the whole county as it relates to jail operations, staffing, equipment, and then the wildfire operations they have there. And that's it.
Okay, Jeff.
All right, Cripple Creek, and Eric, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but we've got the vet rally coming up. Obviously starts in Woodland Park, heads up to Cripple Creek. That's going to be on August 22nd. So plan your trip up to the mountains accordingly. So the highway will be closed for that piece of it, but we're excited to have them up in Cripple Creek again this year. On August 23rd, for the last couple of years, we do the Pikes Peak Memorial Wall dedication at Mount Pisgah Cemetery in Cripple Creek. Fortunately, that we haven't had that event for a couple of years because we haven't had a dedication. Unfortunately, we do have names to add to that wall this year. So that will be going on at 1 o'clock on Sunday, August 23rd on Teller 1, which is the west side of Cripple Creek. And we're also looking for an administrator, and our search ends on Friday. That's when the applications have to be submitted. We've had 14 applications, so it's been a great experience for us. Steve Robbie, many of you know, is our interim administrator right now. And it's pretty impressive to see that many applicants for this position. So I think it helps us not having a lot of other openings around the state. So, and that's it for Cripple Creek.
Commissioner Applegate.
Yes, thank you. I think our rodeo and the fair and everything went off with a bang. And I know me and Commissioner Williams, we enjoyed New Orleans for the NACO conference. But thing I wanted to highlight that was kind of the highlight of the last month or so was Colorado had a birthday, August 1st. We celebrated 150 years, and man, we make 150 look good. And if you're going to celebrate, why not celebrate on top of a mountain like a 14er? And not only any mountain, but Pikes Peak, America's mountain. Yeah. So I was up there for a city-led event, and they were just honoring the peak and just everything around it. They were highlighting some of the nonprofits and some of the other organizations that do events like on the peak. And we set a Guinness Book World Record. We did the most consecutive donuts dunked into coffee all at the same time. So I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records now, so no pictures, please. No, I'm just kidding. But it was quite the highlight. It was really something cool, that you're on top of the mountain, you're celebrating Colorado's 150, and you're going, wow, Centennial State. So the reason we're there. And the big event I got coming up is Saturday. I'm going to be attending Tessa's Pasta in the Park. And this year is extra special for me because one of the keynote speakers is actually my former campaign manager from 2024. So thank you.
Commissioner Stone.
All right, thanks for covering some of those things, guys. A couple of things additionally coming up in Divide this coming weekend is the Smoking the UPass barbecue contest at Paradox Brewery in Divide. The beers are not to be missed, the barbecue is not to be missed, and it's to benefit the community partnership, which is one of our major NGOs up in Teller County. Also, Victor has a couple of events coming up in early September, celebrating the arts in Victor. And then I believe every Friday night or Saturday night, they have Music Under the Stars in Victor. These Saturday nights, if I remember that right. Yeah, Saturday nights, and that'll continue through the end of August. So those are going on as well. We had kind of a seminal event. I hope that's the right word. Up in Divide this last week, where we set the final beam on the new Central Service Center in Divide. And it's a big deal for us because in 1997, for whatever reason, county commissioners decided to trade buildings for open space and rent back that space from the state of Colorado, which put us on a pathway of renting buildings for half of our county offices for 30 years in 2027, which is when this new building is scheduled to open. So for the first time in 30 years, all Teller County offices will be sited in county-owned buildings, be centrally located. And so public health, DHS, our veteran service offices, our building and planning department, as well as our DMV are all going to be in that central location on the northern side of the county. And I know our staff is really excited about it because they haven't always gotten the service that they wanted in rented spaces. So we're super excited about that. We had a lot of electeds, not only county, but also municipals that were there for the beam signing, and that's gone up. That's right now planned to open no later than August 2027. And other good news on that also is the commissioners just signed a final contract, which is kind of unique, I think, in the public world, which is got a guaranteed price contract for our building. So it guarantees that for our residents, we will stay under budget and on time. And the only way it can go over is if we ask for change to what our plan already was. So we're going to be on budget. It'll be paid for in cash. And we're super excited for Teller County. It's a huge deal. Like I said, 30 years coming. Those of you know Clark Becker. It was Clark Becker's plan back in 1997 to build a central service center in Divide. I know my first day on the commissioners, we walked into the commissioners room and there's a big diagram on the wall that shows where all the buildings are going to go. And I remember looking at it and saying, is this still a viable plan? And ultimately, the answer was, well, sort of. And so we revised it, looked at it, and we're excited. It's been 6 years in the making to get to here from when we first put that plan into place. And anyway, we're really excited about that. We also had a super successful fair that just wrapped up this last week. The highest attended fair probably in a couple of decades. The highest number of projects that we've had in a couple of decades from our 4-H kids. We had 53 hogs that were brought to the fair, which was tremendous. Nearly 20 steers and then lots of other animals as well. And anyway, it was a fabulous event. We've had a lot of improvements and investment into our fairgrounds, which we hope not only will benefit the fair, but also once those are brought up and completed, we have one last major project up there, which is to redo our pavilion at that point, that it can be utilized not only by the folks in the fair and the rodeo, but also potentially for events in Cripple Creek as that building is improved and for outdoor entertainment in the Cripple Creek area. So looking forward to partnering with the city and other organizers on better utilization of those facilities. But good summer. Weather has cooperated for all of us, except for the fact that the last update is that we are actually in the middle of what we are calling a water crisis in Teller County. We have submitted an emergency plan to the state for potential water supplementation for some of our subdivisions. We had 5 of our ranchers just 2 days ago get notified that they are shutting down the water onto their ranches. And so we are actually having an emergency meeting next week to meet with water commissioners to see how we can potentially supplement, these ranchers' water supply because it's a big deal. And so for everyone, whether you're a city or otherwise, we're encouraging conservation everywhere, not just within our own county, but within the cities and everywhere else, because we're all pulling from the same resource. But it's a very real issue for Teller County, and kind of a downer to end on, but I'll end on it.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Yeah, and if I may piggyback on what Eric just said, Park County, we are suffering the same challenges with water. Springs are drying up. We use water on roads to grade roads. The only way you can effectively, we are not allocating any water except to humans and animal life. And so we are on a really strict allocation. I know that Commissioner Whistle and Haspen, a couple other entities, are working together with Park County, with Teller County, to try to help solve this problem, because there really is no water to move to where it needs to be unless you get it and truck it, and finding out where to get it's the challenge. So we are in a crisis also. So we beg you, a brown lawn is not really a bad thing versus a cow that can't get any water. So thanks.
All right. My only announcement would be we have a beaver infestation coming to the county, and that's going to be on August 27th. So that's the Bucky's hearing. Sorry, it's been a long time joke. So we have our plans, just as I'm sure the city does, to handle a large meeting, and it all will be well, and hopefully we'll get some sort of decision out of that and see where it goes from there. Other than that, I don't know as if I have. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't forget Mayor Thompson.
Hi,
Mayor
thank you.
LaKind. Yep.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to, I really missed the conversation. I had to step out for just a little while. I was at the ceremony where Colonel Oxenvog relinquished command to the new colonel coming in, Colonel Warren, and I wanted to say goodbye to Colonel Oxenvog and welcome the new person in. So I missed some of the Front Range passenger rail discussion, and not quite sure who's can catch me up on that, because I'm very concerned of the position that we're going to take on that vote. But I wanted to invite everybody. We have the Labor Day event in Fountain. We have a Labor Day parade, and we have a festival afterwards. The parade begins at 10 a.m. and it's you would like to be in the parade, or you know any business that might be interested to be in the parade, please get them registered really quick. I believe end of the week might be the deadline for that, but it is free to be in the parade, and would love to see everybody come down and see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Mitch LaKind.
Only one announcement in that the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, we broke ground on a park, a new ADA accessible park for all abilities, right in the heart of downtown Monument. And that was thanks to a land donation from the Monument Community Presbyterian Church and the efforts of the Kiwanis Club of Monument Hill and their fundraising efforts to bring this to fruition. So phase 1 begins construction immediately. And we're expecting the first phase to open in very quickly, like sometime end of September, early October.
Hey, thank you.
All I got.
And Council Member Shaw from Rama.
Yeah, thank you. We just wrapped up our annual Rama Days event. Appeared to be a pretty good turnout. I'm still waiting to see the final numbers on that. Hopefully we'll have something more to go on tonight. But that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I do believe I've gotten everybody. And so last thing we have is our upcoming meeting schedule. We will meet again next month, same time, same place. And then there is the board meeting on the Friday before. I don't know when is our next legislative committee meeting. as needed. Yep. And so, other than that, if, unless we have any other questions, we'll adjourn. Okay, so we will adjourn. Thank you for attending. I appreciate it.